There's a boat sitting at a brokerage dock right now, and everybody's walking right past it. A solid 1980s trawler, single diesel, good fiberglass hull, the kind of boat that'll take you around the Great Loop and bring you home ready to do the whole thing again. And the asking price is $20,000, maybe $30,000 under the boat tied up in the next slip. Same length, same engine, same water under the keel. So why is one cheap and the other one isn't? It's not the hull, it's not the motor, it's the wood on the deck. Gray, weathered teak. And the second a buyer lays eyes on it, he keeps right on walking because somebody, somewhere, told him that teak decks are the kiss of death. Here's what nobody on that dock is going to tell you. That fear is the exact reason the boat is cheap. And 9 times out of 10, the fear is pointed at the wrong thing entirely.
So before you walk past the best deal in the marina, let me show you what a teak deck actually is, what it can really do to you, and how to tell in about 10 minutes whether you're looking at a Saturday job or a $50,000 mistake. Let's start with what you're even looking at, because most folks have no idea. A teak deck is not the deck. That part matters, so let me say it again. The teak is not holding the boat together. Underneath that wood is the real deck, fiberglass laid over a core, usually plywood or balsa, and that's what gives the boat its strength. The teak on top is just a covering. A nice one. Years ago, some builder in Taiwan or Hong Kong laid down strips of teak about 3/8 of an inch thick, screwed them down into the fiberglass, plugged each screw hole with a little wooden bung, and filled the seams between the planks with a thick black caulk. When it's fresh, it's the prettiest thing on the water. Honey-colored, grippy even when it's soaking wet. Cool under your bare feet on a hot day. That's the look that sold these boats brand new for serious money. Now run the clock forward 40 years. The sun bakes that teak gray. The bungs over the screws dry out and pop loose. The black caulk in the seams gets hard, shrinks, and lets go. And all of a sudden, that beautiful deck looks tired, splintery, and neglected. A buyer walks up, sees gray wood and open seams, and his brain screams one word: rot. He's gone before he ever steps aboard. And here's the thing, he might be right, but he's probably wrong. Because gray teak and a rotten deck are two completely different animals, and learning to tell them apart is the single most valuable trick I can hand you today. Let me explain the real danger, because there is one, and I'm not going to pretend there isn't. Remember those screws?
Every single plank was held down by dozens of them, driven straight through the teak and into the fiberglass deck. As long as the bungs and the caulk are sealed, water rolls right off and goes overboard. But once the bungs pop and the seams open up, rainwater and salt water find their way down to those screws. And every screw is a little highway straight into the core. The water gets into the plywood or the balsa under the fiberglass, and that core has no way to dry out. It stays wet. It goes soft. It turns to mush. That right there is the deck rot everybody's terrified of. A wet, spongy core that you can feel flex under your foot. Now here's why that scares people so bad. Fixing a truly rotten core is real work. You're cutting open the fiberglass, digging out the wet core, drying it, putting in new material, and glassing it all back up. On a bad one, across a whole deck, that's a big bill and a long project. So the fear isn't crazy. A boat with a soaked, rotten core can absolutely be a money pit. But, and this is the whole point of the video, most of the cheap teak boats at the dock do not have a rotten core. They've just got tired-looking wood on top of a deck that's bone dry underneath. The teak went gray because that's what teak does in the sun. It doesn't mean a single drop of water ever made it down to the core. Plenty of these boats were kept under cover or had an owner who stayed on top of the caulking, or simply got lucky with how they were built. The wood looks awful and the deck under it is perfectly sound. And that boat, the one that looks rough but is solid where it counts, is the cheapest, honest way onto the water there is. So how do you tell the difference without a degree in boat building? You don't need one. You need about 10 minutes and a few of your own senses. First, walk the deck. Walk every inch of it, slow, and pay attention to what's under your feet. A good deck feels firm and solid, like walking on the floor in your house. A rotten core feels soft, spongy, like it's got just a little give to it, especially around the edges, around the fittings, and up against the cabin. If it feels like a trampoline, you've found a problem. Second, get down and tap. Take a small plastic mallet or even the handle of a screwdriver and tap along the deck. Solid fiberglass over a good core gives you a sharp, hard sound, almost a click. Wet, rotten core gives you a dull, dead thud, like knocking on a wet log. Once you've heard the difference a couple of times, you'll never unhear it. Tap your way around and listen for those dead spots. Third, go below and look up. A lot of deck leaks show up on the inside long before anybody wants to admit it. Get into the cabin and look at the headliner, the ceiling panels, the underside of the deck wherever you can see it. Brown water stains, drips, soft spots, a musty smell.
That's water that came through the deck, and it's telling you a story. A dry, clean overhead is a very good sign. And then, the part you never skip, you put a real marine surveyor on the boat with a moisture meter. He'll run that meter across the whole deck, read the moisture right down in the core, and hand you a written map of exactly where it's wet and where it's dry. That few $100s is the difference between buying a solid boat and buying somebody else's headache. Hire your own surveyor, not the broker's buddy, and make him put it in writing. Now let's say the core checks out dry. The wood's gray and ugly, but the deck under it is sound. You've got 3 honest choices, and not one of them is a disaster. Choice 1 is the easiest. Do almost nothing. Clean the teak, give it a gentle wash, and just let it be gray. Here's a secret the dock experts won't say out loud. Gray teak doesn't hurt a thing. The wood does not need to be honey-colored to do its job. A lot of working sailors leave their teak silver gray on purpose because it still grips your feet and it stops being a chore. Keep the seams sealed and the deck dry, and gray teak will outlast you. Choice 2 is the weekend warrior's path. You keep it pretty. You clean it, maybe a light sanding, oil it or leave it natural, and every so often you go around and recaulk the seams that have opened up and replace the bungs that have popped. It's a Saturday here and a Saturday there. Some people find it relaxing. Some people hate it. But it's hand tools and elbow grease, not a yard bill. Choice 3 is the one I'd point most buyers toward, and it ends the whole argument forever. You pull the teak off completely. Every plank comes up, every screw comes out, and now you've got a bare fiberglass deck full of screw holes. You fill every one of those holes with epoxy, ferret smooth, and roll on a good non-skid deck paint.
When you're done, you've got a clean, modern, no-maintenance deck that never leaks again, because there are no more screws and no more seams left to fail. It takes some labor, sure, but plenty of owners do it themselves over a season, and the boat is worth more when it's finished, not less. You've taken the one thing that scared every buyer off and made it disappear. You hear that? Every single one of those options is manageable. None of them is the catastrophe the fellow who walked away was so afraid of. So let me tie this off the way I see it after a lot of years around these boats. The teak deck is the best filter at the marina. It scares off the buyer who's shopping with his eyes instead of his head. It makes a perfectly good trawler sit unsold while shinier boats get fought over. And every month it sits, the price drops again. That fear, that gray weathered wood, is quietly knocking thousands off the price of a boat that might be bone dry underneath. The smart buyer doesn't run from the teak. He walks straight up to it. He walks the deck for soft spots. He taps for dead sounds. He goes below and looks for stains. He pays for his own survey with a moisture meter. And if the core comes back dry, he knows he's looking at the same hull, the same simple diesel, the same boat as the one in the next slip, for 20 or 30 grand less. And the only thing standing between him and that deal is some wood he could pull off in a single season. The wood on top was never the boat. The boat is underneath. And the brokers are counting on you not knowing the difference. If this is the kind of straight talk nobody else on the dock is giving you, do me one favor and hit that subscribe button. I put out a new one of these every week. No hype, no nonsense, just the stuff the salesman hopes you never figure out. And tell me down in the comments, have you ever walked away from a boat because of gray teak and wondered later if you made a mistake? Are you keeping your teak up, or did you pull it and glass over? And what's the next boat myth you want me to take apart? Drop it below. I read every one, and I'll see you in the next one.